Here we are at video 9, measurement. Today we're going to be talking about area and perimeter. Now I want you to take a look right now on the board. I'm going to draw a little box here on the board. If we were talking about the area, we would be talking about the space inside this box. So if you had a room and you wanted to put down a carpet, you would need to know the area of that floor in order to put down the carpet. But let's say you just wanted to put a border all around the room, a border all around the room. Well, that's the perimeter. So perimeter is like a border around, and the area is the space inside. Now we're going to be working on area and perimeters today, and I have to tell you that it's very important if you want to make some adjustments in your house. I know I just tiled a bathroom a few months ago, and boy, did I need to know my area and my perimeter. I needed to know all kinds of things about triangles, so get ready. These things will be really helpful to you in your day-to-day life. Let's take a look at this figure on the board here. Do you see it? Here it is. This is 2 and this is 2. That means that the length is 2 and the width is 2. And if the length is 2 and the width is 2, well, that means that this is 2 and this is 2. So all 4 sides are 2. Let's make believe 2 feet. 2 feet. Each one is 2 feet. Tell me now, can you tell me what kind of a figure this is? If you said square, you are right, because this is a square. Now here's another figure. Here we have this side, the length is 3, and the width is 1. Well, guess what? If the length is 3 and the width is 1, then the length over here is also 3, and the width is also 1. In a square, all 4 sides are equal. In a rectangle, the lengths are equal and the widths are equal. So 3 is equal to 3, 1 is equal to 1. And how about this figure? What do you think that is? If you said rectangle, you are correct. Because if this is 4, then this is 4. If this is 2, then this is 2. And guess what this is called? It's called a rectangle. And this, it has 3 sides and 3 angles, and it's called a, right, if you said triangle, a triangle. Triangle. And this figure here on the bottom, well, I guess it looks like an old shoe, huh? Big shoe, but don't worry about that one. We'll come back to it later, okay? Let's just look at our square and our rectangle and our triangle. In fact, let's take a look back at the square. If we wanted to find out the distance around this square, that's the perimeter, all we have to do is add up the sides. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8 feet. So the perimeter would be 8 feet. 2, 2, 2, 2. And what would we do here with the rectangle? Well, we would do the same thing. We would add up all the sides. 3 and 1 is 4, 5, 6, 7. Here's 8. 8 feet. Now, some people looking at the 3 here would say, well, 3 times 2 is 6, and 1 times 2 is 2, and 6 plus 2 is 8. You could do it like that, too. You could take 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Just like here, you could say 2 times 4 would be 8. Either way, whichever is more comfortable for you, I kind of like to add up all the sides. So here's another one. We have 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 4 is 10, plus 2 is 12. So here we have 12 feet. 12 feet. And that's the perimeter. Let's take a look at the perimeter of this triangle. Can you figure it out? Well, it's 4 and 3 is 7, and 7 and 5 is 12 feet. 12 feet. Now, how about this very strange object here? Strange. Can you tell me? Can you give me any idea of what is the perimeter here? Can you do it? It would be 6 and 5 is 11, and here's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 20, 22 feet for the big shoe. 22 feet. 22 feet. So how do you find the perimeter? Oh, it's very easy. All you have to do is add up all the sides. Now, if you wanted to find out what the area is, it's a little bit different. So are you ready? To find the area, you need to follow the rule. Area equals length times width. Now, I want you to take a look at this dot here. Remember I told you last video that that stands for multiplication. Well, As we get on more in mathematics, we can even write this formula as area equals LW. Take away the dot, and it still means multiply. So don't get nervous if you see something like 2xyz. All that means is 2 times some number, that's called x, times some number called y, times some number called z. This is all multiplication, 2 times x, y, z. Now, let's take a look at the area of this first figure here. If the area equals the length times the width, then the area of this figure is 2 times 2. And that would equal 4 square feet. We're not talking about a straight line. We're talking about square feet. And a square foot means a foot, a foot, a foot, a foot. It's like little squares, all a foot. And here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 square feet. Let's try another one. If area equals length times width, we want the area equals length times width, then the area is going to equal 3 times 1, which means that the area would equal 3 square feet. 3 square feet. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 3 square feet. And how about this rectangle? What would the area or the inside, when we talk about area, we're talking about the inside. Area equals length times width. The area equals 4 times 2. Here's my length and my width. Area equals 8 square feet. 8 square feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 square feet. All I'm doing is following the rule. Area equals length times width. Do you get the idea? To find the area of a square or a rectangle, all you have to do is multiply the length times the width. Now, I'd like to take a look, a special look, at triangles. Triangles have a different rule. And the rule to find the area of a triangle is area equals 1/2 the base times the height. Area equals 1/2 the base times the height. So take a look at this triangle. Which one do you think is the base? If you said 4, you're right. There's the base, 4. So area equals 1/2 times 4. And now, which one do you think is the height? Do you think it's 3 or 5? If you said 3, you're correct. If I went to the doctor's office and he wanted to find out how tall I am, he wouldn't measure me like this. He would put the ruler straight up from my toes all the way up to the top of my head. Well, that's how you have to measure a triangle also, from the bottom to the top, bottom to the top. So I'm going to go backwards with this one. I'm going to say 3 times 4 is 12, and 1/2 times 12, I'm going to cancel, would give me 6 square feet. 6 square feet. So how do I find the area of a triangle? I multiply 1/2 the base times the height. Now, let me erase the board and then let's go on and do a few more triangles and see if you can remember how to find the area. Well, let's take a look over here. In this triangle, you'll see that it has a few different lines, huh? Here we have a height. It goes from here to here. And here also is a height from here to here. You can measure the height of a triangle either inside the triangle or outside the triangle, and in this kind of a triangle. So let's find the area. Area equals 1/2 the base times the height. So area equals 1/2 times 3 times 2. And 2 times 3 is 6, so the area equals 1/2 times 6. And 1/2 times 6 is 3 square feet. So what did I do? To find the area, 1/2 the base times the height. 1/2 the base times the height. Let's take a look at another triangle. Here we have another one. And again, we're going to follow the rule, 1/2 the base times the height. And what we're going to do is we're going to multiply 1/2 times the base, times 12, times the height is 9. And for those of you who don't remember what 9 times 12 is, we're going to multiply it right here. 9 times 2 is 18, 108. So we have area equals 1/2 times 108. And if I cancel, I'm going to end up with 54 over 1, which equals 54 square feet. So the area of this triangle is 54 square feet. Now I want to say a word, just a word, about using pencil and paper in math. You know, there are some people who are great mathematicians. They see math in the trees and the flowers, and they can do all their math in their head. I have to tell you, not everybody is like that. If you need to use pencil and paper, go right ahead. Use pencil and paper. If you need to count on your fingers and your toes, go right ahead. Count on your fingers and your toes. I do. It helps me. I've known great mathematicians who've counted on their fingers and toes, and they did a terrific job. So don't be embarrassed if you count on your fingers and toes. And if anybody says, why are you counting on your fingers? Tell them I said, because it's a good idea. If you can get the right answer, that's what's important. So use any help you can get. Now, we know that this is 54 square feet, the area for this triangle. But let's take a look at this triangle, okay? Here we have 1/2 the base times the height. That's to find the area. So again, we multiply 1/2 the base, which is 2, times the height. Now the height is not 2, it's 1 5/10. And you remember how to multiply decimals, right? We have 1 5/10 times 2 is going to give me 3. So now I need to find 1/2 times 3, which will give me either 1 5/10 or 1 1/2. Either one could be my answer. So here we are, and this is always when you find the area, it is in square feet. Always in square feet. So that's how we find the area of a triangle. Now, I would like to tell you just briefly about a figure that you might meet in your travels, and it's called a parallelogram. And anytime you see those parallel lines, you know when you're driving and those 2 yellow lines are on the freeway, they go forever and ever in the same direction and they never meet. In fact, I think when I was a kid, they had a love story about these parallel lines that never met, and it was a tragic love story, whatever. I saw it in math class when I was a kid. I always felt bad for parallel lines. Well, there's a figure called a parallelogram, which is made up of 2 sets of parallel lines. Now, let's see if I can draw this okay. And if you wanted to find the area of this kind of a figure, let's give it some dimensions here. You would need a height, and here could be a height, or even here could be a height. And all you have to do to find the area is multiply the base times the height. So if the base is 2, then the height is 3. The area would be 6 square feet. So you might see this in your travels. I want you to make sure you know how to find the area. What would be the perimeter? It would be 4 and 2 is 6, and 4 is 10, 11, 12. You just have to add up the sides. So let's take a tiny little review. This figure is called a square, and this figure is called a rectangle. In a square, all 4 sides are equal. In a rectangle, 2 sides are equal and the other 2 sides are equal. This is called a triangle, 3 sides, 3 angles. This, as you know, is called a circle. And in the next video, we're going to be looking at circles, and we're also going to be looking at cylindrical objects, and we're also going to be looking at little boxes that look like this called rectangular containers or cubes, either rectangular containers and cubes. So how do I find the area of a square or a rectangle? Length times width. How do I find the perimeter of these 3 figures? Add up all the sides. Good. Now what I'd like to do is I would like to leave you with one problem here. We're going to come back over here. The perimeter for this figure was 22 feet. But let's see if we can find the area of this figure. Now, this side is 6, and over here is 4. If I drew a little line that went right here, which would be 2, because 2 plus 3 is 5, then if this side is 2, well, this side would have to be 2. And if this is 2, that would be 6 minus 2 is 4. So 4 and 2 would equal 6 here. Do you see what I did? what I want to do is I want to find the area of this, so I'm going to divide it into 2 rectangles. And I'm going to find the area of each rectangle. So here is this rectangle, and it has, the length is 5, and the width is 2. So I can say area equals length times width. Area equals 5 times 2 equals 10 square feet. And so that would be the area of this rectangle. Do you see that? 3 and 2 is 5, so the length is 5 and the width is 2. This rectangle, the length is 4 and the width is 2. So area would equal length times width. Area equals 4 times 2, which equals 8 square feet. And together, 10 and 8 is 18 square feet. So what would be the area of this whole figure? It would be 18 square feet. Now I want you to get lots of practice with area and perimeter. I would like you to go to workbook 3, and I would like you to do the exercises in video 9. I would like you to do part 1 and part 2, and the pages are pages 7 to 8 and 9 to 10. And then please do test 1 and test 2, and come on back for the next video.